episode 12 of Pro Player Plays PGA Tour 2K21. As you can see, we started this episode off by planting some of this area just in the front of the tee box on hole 3, and this is the kind of style we're going to go with for this episode. We are a little bit more inland, and because of that, we're going to not have as much of this kind of grass. You can see this here. There's not going to be as much of this showing, and I'm going to do that for two reasons. First, I think it does make sense that the inland holes wouldn't necessarily have kind of that beachy grass next to it. But then the second thing is, of course, the object meter. The object meter is the biggest thing that's kind of our constraint, I guess you could say. And we are really trying to minimize the amount of objects we are going to plant here in the next couple holes at least, so that we get a feel for how much we're going to have left over remaining on that object meter for some of the extra things that you can add to the course at the end of it, like the clubhouse, like some extra houses out there. So we're trying to be very minimalist in how much plant meter we're going to use, but I still love the effect of having a very filled in and green, lush kind of undergrowth area to a lot of the tree lines, and then also kind of this area in the sand. You're going to have a lot of these grasses and bushes. So that's kind of our focus for today, our goal. So we started this hole at 26% on the object meter, and we've planted all the tree line basically up this left side and the right side, and then also the bushes, these bushes underneath. We've reached 27.5, so 1.5% of the object meter. I think our goal for this entire hole, for hole number 3, is to end it right at about 30%. Now, it's going to be a stretch goal. I've only got 2.5% left, and it's probably not very realistic, but it's the number I'm shooting for, is to get it, this whole entire hole, basically besides some of this inlet planting, get that to about 30%. If we go a little over, that's okay. But each hole, if you've got 18 holes, you've only got about 5.5% of the plant meter to do for every single hole. And so if I can somehow get this hole at around 4%, I think we're going to be looking really good for the rest of the course. And that's what we're shooting for today. We're shooting to plant this whole thing and get it all done and get it looking the way we want to with minimal object meter. So without any further ado, let's get planting some of these other areas. I started here close, and I just want to do this front right section kind of as a concept test. And I know it's in the shade, so it's kind of hard to see everything, but I think this is the look we're going to go for. I'm going to turn my focus over to this left side and really clean up that tree line. It's very bare underneath there. So let's get in and let's plant some more of this left tree line and kind of focus on this tee box area first, and we'll go from the tee box up to the green as we go along here, and hopefully we can keep that plant meter down. So let's get into it. Now, one thing I kind of forgot to mention here was that there's this new tree that I'm going to be trying to use, and it's this cashmere elm right here. And it's got a really nice kind of bushy undergrowth look to it. And when you use it in the trees, it really just looks like one big bush. And I think that tree looks awesome, and I think it adds a little bit of color variation as well. So I'm definitely going to be using that a lot more as I start planting some of these inland holes, is this little cashmere elm, and I might even go back into a couple of the older holes and place it in there. The strategy I've been using is I am changing from using the small objects first, because when I was planting over in this area, right here, I would make a big outline of this kind of grass right here and fill it all in, and then I would place some of the bigger objects through there. And that process looks great. I think it looks really good. But the issue is that I use more of these than I really need to, because this little piece of grass right here, it eats up the plant meter very quickly. And when you use that much plant meter that quickly, you need to make it worth your while. And right now, I cover up enough of these little blades of grass. Let me go over here and see. You see, like, I have all of this planted with this tall grass in here, but it's all covered up by these bushes. That's kind of the strategy I'm using here. I want to use more of the big bushes first, and then fill in some of the gaps with these blades of grass right here. And I think if I do that, I think I'm going to be able to limit the amount of plant meter I'm using as well. So those are just a couple of the strategies I'm using here as I go along. So with that being said, let's get working on this tree line here. I want to fill in all the undergrowth on this side, and I think it'll make this already look a lot more complete. It looks pretty open over there, and this angle right here through this bunker, it's kind of ruining the tee shot at the moment. So I'm going to go through and I am going to place some of the bushes and the undergrowth to just make it look a little bit more full and kind of enclose this hole off really nicely. So let's get in there and let's do that. A lot of the tree line up the left has been done now, and I think it looks pretty good. The one thing I want to say is that back here, I'm still leaving it open to the possibility of houses in the first place. That's why I kind of haven't put anything over here. I'm like kind of just leaving it in case I decide to do something back here. But then also, if I don't decide to do anything back here, I'm going to go in at the end of all, like once I'm done with the whole course, and I'm going to add all these trees back in. And if you bring this all the way up, you can see that it fills it out on its own. And obviously I'd need to go through and I need to remove some objects from the hole, but in terms of the background of the hole, it would fill in all the trees by itself and it wouldn't use any of the plant meter. And because of that, I think that's what I'm planning on doing, is just kind of leaving that area for the time being. It's going to be a little bare back there, but that's okay. Like it doesn't really affect the view of the hole. So I'm just going to leave it for now. I think it looks pretty good. The thing I want to do is, I was kind of going through here. I noticed I have a bunch of these squiggly lines here, and I have some squiggly lines up in here that's not very well done. I want to go through and I want some of this red to be peeking out. I think it's a good color to just kind of have sticking out just a bit. Nothing too crazy, but I need to fix some of this bunker. We've got a lot of these dots through here, and it was just from when I did that brush and I spun it around a bunch, and it kind of made some of these weird edges. So I think if I just go through and I kind of clean up some of this bunker, I think it's really going to help. So I'm going to go in and let's get rid of some of these dots that are kind of put throughout our bunkers. some of this stuff up the left is looking a lot better, a lot cleaner through this bunker. And I actually missed the spot. Hang on, let me go in and remove this, make it just look a little bit better. And that should do the trick over here. Flatten that just a bit. That looks a lot better. I'm liking that a lot. So the one thing I did want to do is I think I want to raise this area up just a little bit. This bunker edge, you can kind of see it from the tee, and it's just a little bit flat. And I kind of want to be able to see the bunker over some of the stuff we're going to plant in this area. So I think just a general little raise up here is going to do just the amount that I want to do to where this bunker is visible off the tee. And I think that helps just that little bit. It doesn't need to look amazing. It doesn't need to have a really nice defined edge just because it's that waist bunker look to it. So I'm okay with kind of just this natural run up into the rough there. I think that looks pretty good. I know this right area is pretty shaded in right now, but I think there's not a whole lot we can do about that. The tree, the sun just coming from that direction, I'm not going to move the sun just to make this area look a little bit better. I just like that it's filled in and it's kind of blocking some of the nasty brushes that we got down here. And it creates that negative space where it really just focuses you in on what you're going to be playing out to over here. So I don't mind this being dark. It just focuses your eye more on the areas where the light is shining. And that's kind of where I want you to look anyway. Like, I'd rather have you look up here in the fairway where this is and up by the green where that is from the tee box. It's perfectly okay that we can't really see all the planting that's done in there. It's just kind of there to hide anything that could distract your eye from what we're really trying to get it to look at. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to plant this whole left side here. I'm going to finish up some of this planting in here, a couple of this planting in here. I missed a couple dots in there. I'll do that in the time lapse too. But we're going to plant this, plant some of these areas, and kind of get up to near this tee box. So that's our goal here. Let's get in and let's get after it. Got a lot of this left side done, and I think some of this planting is looking really good through here. I think what we're missing is a lot of work up this right side. And I think a little bit of planting in here, maybe some planting through here, is really going to really help define this tee shot. But I also am thinking that maybe this hole needs to be complete before we really get an idea of how hole 3 is going to look. And that's okay. If we get to the end of this and it doesn't look great and the only thing bothering me is that this isn't done, you know what? That's going to be okay in my book. I think we're gonna just go forward with the understanding that once hole 5 gets done, I think hole 3 will also look a lot more done. So that being said, we're going to go in and let's plant some of this area here, some of this up in here, and then maybe start getting into some of these areas. This area is going to be a little bit more of that seagrass heavy look. We're kind of looking for that coastal vibe more on this side of the hole, and then more of the inland vibe on this side of the hole. We still got a little work to do in there. We'll clean that up, but we're just trying to get a lot of the planting down right now so that we feel like we're getting pretty close to done with this thing. We got all the sculpting done and everything. All we need to do is get this planting out of the way. So I'm gonna hop in, and I really want to start to close this tee shot off and see if maybe planting this right side helps the tee shot a little bit. It looks a little bare over there once you get past this initial planting, so I think it'll do a world of good. I'm excited. Let's hop into it and let's get this right side done. I was expecting it to look better once we got this right side done, but I did not appreciate how much it would make this hole feel a lot more closed off. I think just that doing that right side, and one thing that I did was this bunker over here. I can't exactly decide why, but this bunker kind of peeking back through here, you couldn't really see it before I added it, but it just adds that little extra color over there, that white color that really contrasts against the really dark kind of shaded trees that we've got on that side. And for some reason, that white sand kind of poking out really helps the look of this tee shot. Not exactly sure why, but I really like it. I think it just provides that contrast. And then the other thing I did is I kind of raised this up. I flattened this whole area here, and just a little bit of depth coming from this base level where it's really flat up to the fairway. I think the more we can do that, the better off this course is going to look, because we don't really want it to be the bunker kind of just blends into the fairway, because then it doesn't look well maintained. I think that's the look that happens when you just kind of let it run up into the fairway. But when you have a very clear kind of ledge to it, like this is right here, you got this flat spot and it comes up here, it looks really, it looks like it was done on purpose, and it looks really clean. And I think a little bit of raise up there, I think it helps the tee shot as well. It just makes it look like the fairway is very distinct from the bunker, and that's kind of the look that we're going for. We've got some planting to do along this coast, and this coast, this is probably going to be more plant meter heavy, I should say, because we're at 29.2%. We've actually done a pretty good job this episode. We've only used about 2% of the plant meter going through this entire part of the hole, but now we've got this section, And if we're going to keep it under our goal of 30, we're going to need to get very mindful of how much we're planting here. I don't know how realistic it is at this point that we're going to get under 30, but we're going to try to keep it as close to that 30 number as we can while still filling in this area and kind of making sure this hole looks complete, especially on this side, because I think when you're on this tee right now, it looks really good until your eyes kind of meet this horizon over here, and it just looks a little bit empty. And I think the better we can plant in here, the better off we're going to be, the better off this hole is going to look. So we're going to go in and do that. The other thing that I want to do is I think I want to raise up this bunker a little bit and really get rid of that rough so that you can see the bunker clearly through the fairway and give the tee shot just a little more framing than what it has, because at the moment it's kind of like you're just hitting out into nothing. And I think if you have a bunker at the end of the fairway, it'll kind of give that sense of, okay, there's the end of the fairway. It limits the sight that you're going to be able to see out past it. So that's what we're going to go for here. I'm going to plant this whole area right through here, try and match it up with some of this area over here. Might do a little less planting than I've done in these spots, do a little less objects. But yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to raise this up a little bit too. So let's get after it. Well, we hit 30% on the objects meter, but I'm not quite done. I still got some of these grasses that I want to plant through here. We did get a lot of the bare bones done on this side though, which I'm pretty happy about. I mean, we are pretty close to that 30% mark, which is just about 5%. We're probably going to add a little bit more. Probably going to end up closer to 30.5. We got a little bit of work to do over here, and then I think I want to just touch up this area over here as well. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this tee box over here on the fourth hole, but I know that I want to finish some of this area, and I want to get a little bit of this underbrush in here. And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm not fully sold on this back kind of tree area. I don't know that I want to leave it, but it does do a good job of framing the hole. It kind of gets your focus going towards the green. So I'm kind of I'm waffling on that part of the hole. But as we've got it right now, I'm pretty happy with everything that we've got over here on the right side. I'm going to touch this all up and probably add a few more of this grass into here just to fill in some of these bare areas. I wanted to add all the big objects first in the middle so that I could come in later with the yellow grass and kind of fill it in and keep our object meter as low as we can go. Yeah, that's going to look pretty good. I'm excited. Let's get into this front right section. Let's touch all this area up, add a little bit more grass, and then just kind of briefly touch on this area. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to fiddle around over there. And yeah, I'll bring you guys back in when I have a better idea of, or kind of when I've completed it and explained why I did what I did. So yeah, let's do it. Well, we got it all done. The hole has pretty much, I like it, is done. I can't think of much else I'd plant. Maybe something in here just along the tee box line, but I think there's enough planting on this right side that I don't really need to do that. As we look at our object meter, it's 30.8, and the goal was to keep it under 30, but that was going to be tough to do in the first place, especially with all of this coastline I still had to plant over here. I knew that it was going to be cutting it really close with all of this having to plant, and I only used 4.8% on this hole, and I think that's pretty good. I think that's definitely moving in the right direction. I think there's definitely some I can shave off here on hole 4. It's going to be all inland, so I won't have to worry about all of these pockets through here. It'll be a lot more tree lined and just a little bit of planting through this kind of waste bunker here. So as far as the object meter goes, I think we're going to be okay. It's still not a great situation, but we're doing all right. So I'm happy with it. Let me know what you guys think about it. Do you like the style that I kind of went for, especially with this new tree? I think it's going to help just fill in a lot of the space of these planted areas without having to bust on our object meter. Yeah, if you guys like what you're seeing here, I'd really appreciate a subscription. That would be awesome. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. Next episode, we're going to be tackling hole 4, this uphill par 4, and I'm really excited for it. I got a couple ideas that have been cooking in my brain, so we're going to get to work on that next episode. But as for today, that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you think down below, and thanks again for watching, everyone. Have a great day.